Smurfy greetings, everyone. It is I, Hellgear, and apparently the director talks about bringing the movie characters back to life. So let's get into that. Smurfy with a Chance of Gargamel. Director Chris Miller talks about bringing Peyo's popular creatures to animated life again. So, yes, the director of the film has said a few things about the movie. Now, the movie is going to be dropping in theaters, I think, this coming Friday. So, to everybody who was able to see it already, leave your thoughts in the comment section. So, here we go. The singing little blue folks are ready for their close-ups again. Thanks to Paramount Animation's summer feature Smurfs, a new generation of audience will learn to love Belgian comic book artist Peyo. Charming characters, which were first introduced in October 1958. And they just recently had their birthday. The magical creatures who live in a mushroom village that are only 3 apples tall are part of a big musical feature with showcases from Rihanna, John Goodman, J.P. Carliak, Nick Offerman, Sandra Oh, Hannah Waddingham, James Corden, Solom Mariduena, Octavia Spencer, Dan Levy, Kurt Russell, and Marshmallow. Best known to American audiences for the classic Hanna-Barbera series from 1981 to 89, 3 features produced by Sony and Nickelodeon CG series 2021 to present, and Smurfs find themselves embarking on a daring mission into the real world after Papa Smurf is captured by Gargamel and his brother Razamel. And we got the shot right there. The color imaginative features is directed by Chris Miller, best known for helming DreamWorks' popular Shrek the Third. Okay, well, Shrek the Third was actually a good movie, so we got some clout under us. Or, well, we can't say clout anymore. It's all about aura. And its Oscar-nominated spin-off, Puss in Boots. Yep, good aura's there. The animation veteran says he was drawn to the project from the start for several reasons. I love the script, and I'm a huge fan of the original series, he says during a recent interview with Animation Magazine. Another reason was that Paramount had the idea to go back to the character's original design and return to the DNA of the comics. Smurfette's dress did not originally look like that. My experience with the Smurfs was through the show from the 80s, and so I discovered Peyo's comics. I just love the incredible designs, the movements of the page. The Sony movies that were made about 10 years ago were going for a more realistic feel. So, in the back of my mind, I wanted to see a contemporary version of those classic designs that was volumetric but still honored the original comic book look. Yeah. Kind of did a bad job there, buddy. Miller says the movie takes advantage of the visual contrast between the safe and magical Belgian forest where the Smurfs live and the live-action outside world where they must go to save Papa Smurf. It's like they've gone to another planet, says the director. There's a sweetness to the original world that turns into chaos, and the big trick was to make sure they could all visually exist in the live-action space. And I think we've accomplished that. The creative team opted to use different kinds of animation to further expand the world of the little villagers. We dabbled in various styles, says Miller. There's some dimensional sequences, and we'll see them as claymated characters and using children's drawing style. That was fun, strange, and weirdly nostalgic, which for us was important to leave a trace of the original work in everything we were doing, or at least tap into a memory that the audience may have, whether we're 30 or 50. The lion's share of animations was produced by the team at Cinest in Vancouver and Montreal. They also did the visual effects for the live-action sequences, and it was a very nice partnership, says Miller. We all had to zero in on the right style for the CG animation, but always referred to Peyo as the blueprint. The comics tell you how they move and the energy, the buoyancy, and poppiness. Everything is there. The trick was to constantly be aware of the simplicity of the design and make sure we were communicating in communicating real emotions with those Smurf eyes and mouths. Look at that. There's the clay model right there, Smurfette. Used well placed. Yep. Whoa. We don't see Michael Diaz Visozo on this one. Miller sets up a maquette of Smurfette for her close up. The movie also features a 2-minute claymation sequence delivered by LA's indie shop screen Novelties, known for crafting charming sequences for shows such as SpongeBob SquarePants and The Patrick Star Show. I love that place, says Miller. They use stop motion Gumby style backgrounds. The characters were built about 8 inches high. It was just great to walk into this great studio. Double negative there. And it ended up being a really funny, fast paced sequence. About a minute or 2 minutes long, but that's where we'll encounter every style. The film's 3-time Annie nominated production designer, Max Boaz, whose credits include The Rise of the Guardians, Kung Fu Panda 3, and Abominable, good, 2 out of 3 movies were good, mentions that one of the toughest aspects of the movie was that it was a traveling film. We need to get very organized for all the different locations, and based on the live action elements of these places, we need to have a consistency in the way our animated characters look in all of them, says Boaz. And of course, we were inspired by the 2D sensibility, the line work, the graphic nature, the layouts and plant designs. All of them influenced our movie heavily. So we had to figure out how to hold on to those elements but add the cinematic, volumetric lighting on top of the 2D sensibility. How do we maintain that with our characters so that the characters can still feel like the Smurfs have been pulled out of the 2D world? This is actually a really good shot. Really good shot. I'm glad I actually decided to press back instead of the X, which would have probably taken me out of the topic. Boaz says the Smurfs look amazing in 3/4 views that break the silhouette in the original comics. Yep, that's about right, because we never see them in first form. The mouth is on the side in those views, he notes. Translating that into 3D animation is tricky, so you'll need to cheat the visuals a bit. We work with Cines to develop the right look for the specific mouth shapes. The same is true with the hats, as their tops flop on the side. So stylistically, all of those had to be figured out for this movie. That's right, because again, one of the things that didn't happen in the Smurfs is front shots. I've mentioned that many a times and oft on Smurf News. There was also the kind of 2D hand-drawn effects that are mixed with 3D procedural effects. Those were a lot of fun to play with. Glad they were. In addition to Peyo's work, Boaz and his team were inspired by arcade culture and graphics found on video game boxes in the 80s. There was a scene in the original trailer where they take it from the original Smurfs video game. So that's what they're talking about. Because the Smurfs traveled through these portals, through these different worlds, we knew it was going to feel like traveling through outer space, he says. So we figured, what if our skies and backgrounds felt like a hand-painted, airbrushed graphics you would find in that era? We were really going for those kinds of really bright colors and playfulness. For Boaz, one of the big musical numbers featuring Rihanna is Smurfette, as Smurfette was a major highlight. And why did people ask at the debut, when's she making the next album? Woman is like almost heavily pregnant with child number 3, and they're like, when are you making another album? Let her have the baby first. Jeez. There's a standout scene where she's in the outback, and there's a great transition from live action into 2D CG world, he recalls. Smurfette dives from a tree into the water, and then it feels like outer space. It's kind of a magical moment when she's singing one of her new songs. Of course, because it's a song and dance number, it requires a lot of planning, but I grew up watching music videos, so I enjoyed the elements of storytelling that unfold with the music. Yeah, like that one TV channel that was all music videos. You need a little bit more color scripting to figure out how you're going to handle those key elements, but I find the process really fun. Shades of Muppets? Oh, here we go. The movie introduces audiences to a wide range of strange and memorable new characters, including Papa Smurf's brother Ken, the younger brother, as I've mentioned. There's also a whole group of interdimensional creatures called Snooterpoots, led by their matriarch, Mama Poot. As Miller recalls, when we were coming up with Mama Poot, I used my own dog, who's a Shih Tzu, as reference. They actually spelled it right, too. Shih Tzu. The Poots ended up looking somewhere between a Wookiee and an Ewok baby. Okay, so the Poots are literally the love child of Wookiees and Ewoks. They are very similar to the Muppets. They even move like them a bit. Oh, this is gold. Yep. Write the check. Write the check to Disney right there. There's the check. So we got the Poots that are literally Wookiee and Ewok love children and move like the Muppets. Yup, Disney getting cashed out with this saying right there. Hey Disney, checks in the mail. One director says he truly values the underlying message behind this latest incarnation of the characters. One of the main driving stories in the movie belongs to a character called No Name. Yep, this is our Smurf hero. The only one in Smurf Village without an identity or built-in skill set, so he has a bit of an obsessive, angst-ridden journey. Fast forward to the end of our movie, and he has taken this dangerous journey to rescue Papa Smurf. They come across these family secrets that actually reveal all the Smurfs' place in the universe. So it's sort of an origin story about how they ended up in the forest. In a way, our movie is really about the power of the community, which is what gives the Smurfs their superpower. Yup, we learned that from the Lost Village. So I'm glad they kept that up. All right, so we all know that this is about the no-name Smurf. And it's good to know. Ah, ah, that's too bad. Payo Company got to cash the check out to Disney for the Poots, man. But this was a nice little readout right here. Very nice readout. What did you guys think of this readout? And again, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. I will also give my movie review for the Smurfs movie when I go see it and after I go see it. So be on the lookout for that as well. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to read this latest episode of Smurfs News, and I will see you next time.